The developer stood in what used to be Lily Orozco's worthless quarter-acre and stared at the waiting list in his hand. 214 names. People offering double, triple the market rate. How, he said. Lily, 26 years old, dirt under her nails, smiled, and said nothing. For months earlier, the land auction in Pitkin County, Colorado, happened on a Tuesday, March 12, 2024, 2:17 p.m. Property 556-03-229, 0.23 acres, steep grade, north-facing slope, no road access, classified as unbuildable by county zoning. The auctioneer's voice was bored. Last parcel of the day, folks. Lot 229, Shadow Creek subdivision. Mountain view obstructed by ridge, 40-degree slope in places. You'd need a mountain goat to reach it. Starting bid $1,000. Lily Orozco sat in the back row of the county building, her grandfather's surveyor's compass in her jacket pocket. She had $1,340 in her checking account. Everything left after student loans, after her mother's funeral, after selling the house in Pueblo that her grandfather built and that the bank took anyway. 1,000, she said. Heads turned. A man in a fleece vest, Brad Morrison, local developer, actually laughed. You serious? The auctioneer raised an eyebrow. Do I hear 1,100? Silence. Sold to bidder 47 for $1,000. Brad Morrison caught her outside. He had perfect teeth, an expensive watch. Hey, listen. I'll give you $1,200 right now. Save you the headache. No, thank you. You can't build on that lot. The grade's too steep, there's no access road. And even if you could, you'd be staring at granite instead of the valley. It's the worst piece of land in the entire subdivision. Lily looked at him with her grandfather's eyes, dark, patient, unimpressed. Then why do you want it? His smile faltered. I'm just trying to help. She walked away. That night, in the studio apartment she rented for $740 a month, Lily opened the metal box her grandfather had left her. Inside, the compass, a hand-drawn map of Pitkin County from 1967, and a letter in his precise handwriting. Mija, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm sorry I couldn't leave you money. I spent my life building houses for other people on land they didn't understand. The banks got the properties. The developers got the profits. I got experience and one thing they never learned. The worst lot is usually the best lot if you know what you're looking at. Study the map. The old creek routes matter. The shade patterns matter. What everyone calls worthless is usually just misunderstood. Find the worst piece of land you can afford. I'll teach you the rest through what I've shown you. Trust your training. Trust the compass. Build what nobody else can see. She spread the map across her floor. Her grandfather had marked Shadow Creek subdivision in red pencil, dated 1968, before it was a subdivision, when it was just forest and meadow. His notes in the margin: north slopes hold snow melt longer. Microclimate cooler by 8 to 10 degrees summer. Old creek bed northeast corner. Water table 12 feet. Prevailing wind blocked by ridge. Natural protection. Lot 229 was marked with a star. She visited the property the next morning. The subdivision was half finished. Expensive homes on the southern exposure lots with valley views, sold for $800,000 and up. Her lot was at the far northern edge, accessible only by an overgrown trail. She climbed for 20 minutes, boots slipping on pine needles. The lot was everything Brad Morrison said. Steep, dark, facing a wall of granite. But Lily stood there with her grandfather's compass and saw what he'd seen. The granite ridge created a sun trap. Southern light reflected back, warming the space. The slope meant perfect drainage. The thick pines were old growth, untouched. And when she walked the northeast corner, her boots squelched in damp soil where everyone else saw a dry mountainside. She drove a wooden stake down 18 inches. Pulled it up. The tip was wet. Her grandfather's creek bed, underground, still. Flowing. She spent $200 of her remaining $340 on a soil percolation test and a county zoning consultation. The zoning officer, a woman named Patricia Chun, pulled the files. Lot 229. Yeah, this was flagged unbuildable because of the grade and access issues. You'd need a variance, and honestly, I don't see how you'd get one. What if I wasn't building a traditional house? Patricia looked up. Meaning? What if the structure worked with the slope instead of fighting it? What if I didn't need a road? You'd still need permits, engineering reports, environmental review. But it's possible. Patricia studied her for a long moment. Why do you want this lot? My grandfather taught me that problems are just solutions nobody's found yet. Something shifted in Patricia's expression. Bring me detailed plans. If they're sound, I'll advocate for you. But I'm not promising anything. Lily spent 3 weeks drawing plans at the library, using free architecture software and every lesson her grandfather had taught her during summers on his job sites. Not a house that sat on the land, a house that grew from it. Multi-level, following the natural contour. Partially underground on the upslope side for thermal mass and insulation. Rainwater catchment from the roof feeding into cisterns. Greywater system. Solar orientation using the reflected light from the granite ridge. The building cost would be $47,000 if she did most of the work herself. Impossible money she didn't have. Then she found her grandfather's other gift, his contractor's license, transferred to her name in his will, and a list of 47 suppliers he'd worked with for 30 years. She called everyone. This is Lily Orozco, Esteban Orozco's granddaughter. Most remembered him. Some offered condolences. 3 offered terms, materials now, payment on completion. It was just barely enough. She submitted her plans on April 2nd. Brad Morrison showed up at the county office the same day. The variance hearing was scheduled for April 18th. Lily had 6 minutes to present her case to the Planning Commission. 5 board members, all over 50, all looking at her like she was a child playing architect. Brad Morrison had 12 minutes. He used them well. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand Miss Orozco's enthusiasm, but let's be realistic. She's proposing an experimental structure on unbuildable land with no construction experience and no capital backing. When this project fails, and it will fail, the subdivision will have an abandoned, half-finished eyesore that impacts property values for everyone. I'm offering to purchase the lot from Miss Orozco for 3 times what she paid, spare her the inevitable loss, and ensure this subdivision maintains its standards. The board members nodded. This made sense to them. Lily stood. She wore her grandfather's old work jacket, too big in the shoulders. She laid her plans across the table, hand-drawn elevations, engineering calculations, soil reports, water table analysis. My grandfather built 63 houses in this county over 40 years. He taught me that good building isn't about fighting the land. It's about listening to it. Lot 229 isn't unbuildable. It's just misunderstood. The slope provides drainage and structural opportunities. The north-facing orientation creates thermal advantages. The water table supports gray water systems. I'm not building despite the challenges. I'm building because of them. Board member Howard Leeds, 68, skeptical eyes. Miss Orozco, what's your budget for this project? $47,000, labor included. Someone snorted. And your construction experience? 6 summers apprenticing with my grandfather. 2 years working for Hanson Brothers Construction in Pueblo before I went to college. This isn't Pueblo, Brad Morrison interjected. Mountain construction requires specialists, experience, understanding of. My grandfather built in mountains for 40 years, Lily said quietly. I learned from him. Patricia Chun, the zoning officer, spoke up. I've reviewed Miss Orozco's plans extensively. They're sound. Innovative, actually. The engineering addresses every concern we typically have with steep-grade construction. The board chair, a woman named Diane Foster, studied the drawings. If we approve this, and you fail, we're left with a problem. If I fail, Mr. Morrison gets his lot, Lily said. But I won't fail. The vote was 3-2. Conditional approval. Start construction within 60 days. Pass all inspections. Complete within 9 months. Brad Morrison's face went tight. You won't last 3 months. Lily said nothing. She broke ground on April 23rd, working alone. The access trail was too steep for vehicles, so she carried materials up by hand. 50-pound bags of concrete mix, 2 at a time, 23 trips. Lumber strapped to her back. Tools in a canvas back. Her shoulders screamed. She didn't stop. A few neighbors came to watch. Tom and Susan Wright, whose $900,000 home had southern exposure and valley views, stood at the trailhead. That poor girl, Susan said, not quietly enough. She has no idea what she's gotten into. By May, Lily had the foundation poured, a stepped concrete pad that followed the slope's natural contour, creating 3 distinct levels. She framed the structure herself, working dawn to dusk, sleeping in a tent on the property. The pines provided the bones of her design. She built around them instead of clearing them, incorporating trunks as structural support posts. The county inspector came weekly. His name was Ray Delgado, 45 years in construction, seen everything. After the third inspection, he pulled her aside. "Your grandfather was Esteban Orozco?" "Yes, sir. I worked with him on the Morrison Elementary School project in '09. He was the best framer I ever met." Ray looked at her work, the precise cuts, the level beams, the integrated design. "You learned well." "Thank you. You're also about to run out of money." Lily didn't deny it. She'd spent $31,000 and was only halfway done. The cistern system alone would cost $8,000. She had $4,200 left. That night, she sat on the half-finished deck she'd built and watched the sun set behind the granite ridge. The reflected light was golden, warming her face even as the mountain air turned cold. Below, in the subdivision, lights came on in finished homes. Music drifted up from the Wright's place, a dinner party, laughter, glasses clinking. She ate ramen from a camp stove and wondered if Brad Morrison had been right. The next morning, a truck came up the trail. Not a county vehicle, a private pickup. Dale Kaufman, who owned the hardware store in town, climbed out with his son. "Miss Orozco, I knew your grandfather. I heard you're building something up here." "Yes, sir. Ray Delgado says it's the smartest construction he's seen in years. Says you're doing everything right except you're running out of money." Lily's throat was tight. "That's accurate." Dale looked at the structure, the exposed framing, the multi-level design, the way it seemed to grow from the mountainside. "I'll front you materials at cost. Pay me when you can." "Mr. Kaufman, I can't guarantee. Your grandfather's word was good for 30 years. I'm betting yours is too." His son started unloading pipe and fittings. By June, the structure was enclosed. By July, the interior was framed, the cistern system installed, the solar panels mounted. Lily worked 18-hour days, hands blistered, face sunburned. Other contractors started showing up, plumbers, electricians, people who'd known her grandfather. They worked for reduced rates or deferred payment, not because they pitied her, but because they respected what she was building. In August, Brad Morrison came up the trail. He stood looking at the house for a long time. It was nearly complete. 3 levels, large windows facing the granite ridge which reflected southern light, a rooftop garden catching rainwater, walls partially earth-bermed for insulation. Beautiful. Impossible. Real. "How much would you sell for?" he asked. "It's not for sale. Everyone has a price." Lily hammered a nail, didn't look at him. "No, they don't." The house passed final inspection on September 8th. Ray Delgado signed off personally. "This is going in my portfolio as an example of what's possible." Lily moved in that night, sleeping bag on the floor, no furniture yet, but it was hers. She walked through each room, touching walls, grateful and exhausted. The next morning, Susan Wright knocked on her door. Susan Wright stood at Lily's threshold looking embarrassed. "I owe you an apology. I said some unkind things. But I was wrong. Your home it's stunning." Lily had heard the whispers all week. Neighbors walking the trail to see the impossible house that wasn't supposed to exist. She'd ignored them, focused on finishing interior details, shelving, cabinet doors, the small touches her grandfather would have insisted on. "Thank you," she said. "Would you be willing to show it to people? My friend's daughter is looking to build, and after what you've done." That was the beginning. Within 2 weeks, Lily had given tours to 17 people. Architects drove up from Denver. A builder from Aspen took photos. A journalist from Colorado Life magazine wrote a feature. The $47,000 dream home. How a 26-year-old built what developers called impossible. The article ran in October. Her phone didn't stop ringing. People wanted her to design homes, consult on difficult lots, teach her methods. A couple from Boulder offered $290,000 for her house outright. She declined. Brad Morrison requested a meeting. They sat at a coffee shop in town, autumn light coming through the windows. "I underestimated you," he said. Not quite an apology, but close. "You underestimated the land," Lily corrected. "You saw a bad lot. I saw possibility. I have 11 difficult parcels across 3 subdivisions. Properties I can't move because of grade, access, or orientation issues. Would you consult on them? Design structures that work instead of fight. What's the rate? $10,000 per design, plus percentage if they sell." Lily thought of her grandfather, working for other men's profits his whole life. 20,000 per design. No percentage. I keep the rights to my methods. Brad's jaw tightened. Then he nodded. Deal. By December, she designed 6 houses for Morrison Development and 3 for private clients. The income cleared her debts, paid back Dale Kaufman in full, and left her with actual savings. But more than money, she had something else: proof. The County Planning Commission invited her to present at their January meeting, not as a petitioner, but as an expert. She stood before the same board that had barely approved her variance and showed photos of her home, the designs she'd completed, the waiting list of people who wanted to build on unbuildable lots. Diane Foster, the board chair, studied the presentation. Miss Orozco, what you've demonstrated is that our classifications might be outdated, that what we've been calling impossible might just require different thinking. My grandfather used to say that problems are just solutions nobody's found yet, Lily said. The worst lot is usually the best lot if you understand what you're looking at. Patricia Chen smiled from her seat. In February, the county revised their zoning guidelines to allow for adaptive terrain construction on previously unbuildable lots, using Lily's project as the model case. Property values in Shadow Creek subdivision increased 18%, not despite her unconventional house, but because of it. Tom Wright, the neighbor who'd watched her struggle, sold his conventional home and commissioned Lily to design a new structure on a steep lot everyone else had rejected. I want what you built, he said. Something that belongs here instead of sitting on top of everything. She designed him a house that cascaded down a 45-degree slope like water, each level opening to forest views. By spring, Lily had trained 3 apprentices, young people who wanted to learn building the way she'd learned it, with attention to land and legacy. She taught them in the field, hands-on, the way her grandfather had taught her. Dale Kaufman's son, Michael, was one of them. My dad talks about your grandfather all the time. About integrity, craftsmanship. I want to build like that. Then you'll work hard and learn patience, Lily said. The land teaches you if you listen. Brad Morrison stopped by one afternoon in late April. Lily was on her deck, reviewing designs. The pine trees had leafed out, the ridge granite was warm with reflected light, and the underground creek fed her garden through the gray water system. That waiting list I mentioned in January, he said. It's up to 214 people. Everyone wants a house like yours now. Difficult lots are selling at premium because they offer what flat, easy lots don't: character, challenge, possibility. So the worst lot became the best lot, Lily said. You changed the whole market. He handed her an envelope. That's a contract offer. I'm launching a new division, adaptive construction. I want you to lead it. Salary, benefits, full creative control. Lily opened the envelope. The number made her breath catch. More money than her grandfather had made in 5 years. I'll consult, she said. But I won't work for you. I'm building my own firm. Orozco Adaptive Design. Teaching people that impossible just means nobody's tried the right way yet. Brad actually smiled. Your grandfather would be proud. After he left, Lily sat on her deck as evening came. Below, the lights of Shadow Creek subdivision flickered on, including Tom Wright's new place, halfway through construction, already beautiful in its impossible position. She took her grandfather's compass from her pocket. The brass was worn smooth from his hands, then hers. She'd carried it through doubt, through mockery, through physical exhaustion and financial terror. It had pointed her true when everyone said she was lost. Inside the compass was an inscription she'd discovered after the house was finished, hidden under the copper plate. For Lily, the direction is always there. Trust it. She smiled, set the compass on the railing, and went inside to her home. The one built from the worst lot available, the one that changed everything, the one that proved her grandfather right. Through the window, the granite ridge glowed in the last light. Tomorrow she'd start designs for 2 more impossible lots. But tonight, she was simply here, in the house that wasn't supposed to exist, living the life everyone said couldn't be built. The worst lot, the best life, exactly as her grandfather had known it would be.